Both my spouse and I are 38 years old. We grew up together, going to the same schools and having park playdates since we met as kids. We've been friends for so long that we can communicate without words. That's why it shocked me so much to find out she had been leading a double life. I discovered she had been having an affair with a colleague and several other men for 2 years after I hacked into our Google account. They had just broken up because she cheated on him with someone else she met. This was a huge surprise to me because I thought we would spend the rest of our lives together. Here's some background about us. We got married at 28, bought a house, had our first child at 29, and our second child at 31. Everything was great until we turned 35. We had a great relationship and a good sex life. Over time, she started acting differently, making weird comments that I didn't think much of until now. I remember the events that led to her strange behavior. It started a few years after our second child. I think we were 35 at the time. We went on a vacation in the Caribbean. A friend of hers who lives in another state had recently gotten a divorce and wanted to join us on our trip. It was just the three of us, but I felt like the third wheel. They left me out of their activities, like it was a girls' trip, and I was just tagging along. I didn't mind because I was working remotely. I had some projects that I was involved at work that requires my input every now and then. When I started to feel bored, I would go downstairs to the casino at the hotel where we were staying, or I would phone my parents who were watching our kids while we were away. Every night while on vacation, my wife went out with her girlfriend. Upon returning to the hotel room where we were staying, she would tell me about all the great restaurants and activities they had experienced. I didn't feel like I was missing out because the vacation was something I have been promising her for years, because she hadn't traveled outside the country before. She had always talked about how life was passing her by, and she never had a chance to have fun. Unlike many of her friends that had their share of dating, I was the only one that she had ever been with, and all we did in our 20s was work on our careers, and we didn't take many vacations. I was completely fulfilled in our relationship and haven't been with anyone else. We used to stroll along the beach during the day and observe the sunrise. She would bring her girlfriend over for lunch. They are going to go out together in the evening. They seemed innocuous to me, and I had total faith in her. Years after the vacation, I still hadn't even considered the possibility. If I recall correctly, it was after we came back from this trip that she started acting different. On the fourth day of the vacation, which was 2 days before we returned back home, she went out with her friend as usual. They got drunk. Getting drunk was not normal for her, but for her friend, it was another story. So I think her friend got her into drinking. She is a happy drunk, super talkative, and friendly. When she came back to the hotel room, she wouldn't stop telling me how her girlfriend was fooling around with one of the locals. She told me that her friend gave him a mouth service, and he whisked her away to the beach to have intimate with her. That night when she was telling me the story, she was giggling and laughing about it. She was glad her friend had fun. I was laughing too, because that was uncharacteristic of her friend. Based on the little information I know about her, she didn't mention anything about being involved, and I didn't in my wildest dreams suspected that she did something. She is a married woman, and the ring never leave her finger, and I trusted her. What was interesting about her story was the following morning. She denied telling me about her friend performing a mouth job on one of the locals, or about her friend being whisked away from the bar to the beach nearby to have his way with her. I find it strange that she didn't recall telling me that story, and I regret not interrogating her further about it. I will find out later that she wasn't an innocent bystander of the story. The story did happen, but she intentionally excluded some detail on the part she played. Another incident that I should have seen as a red flag was on our last day at the resort hotel. While we were on the beach, a group of muscular local guys walked by, and I noticed her staring at them. I didn't think much of it because other people were also looking at the men, but what surprised me was what she said afterward. She asked if I had ever thought about being with someone else. I looked at her, wondering why she asked that. I responded that, yes, I've thought about it, and it's natural. But thinking about it and actually doing it are different. It was one of the most random and awkward conversations we've had. And that's saying something since I've known her through good and bad times. I didn't ask her why she brought it up, or if she had thought about being with someone else. I didn't connect the dots or think much of it until years later when I hacked her Google account. After we got back from the trip, something changed in her. She started acting differently, spending more time away from home, communicating less, and being more secretive about her schedule and activities. This went on for more than a year, and my family were insistent she had changed a lot and that she might be having an affair. But I was 100% certain it was not a possibility. I even mentioned it to her, and she laughed about it with me. Few years after the trip, she slowly started paying more attention to her appearance, buying new clothes, wearing makeup more often, or changing her hairstyle. She didn't used to drink before, but she slowly started to drink and work, or stay out late, claiming she was with her coworkers or her female friends. She would come home sometimes with alcohol in a breath, giggling and acting like a schoolgirl. After a while, the little things built up on me, and I caved and hacked into her Google account. Even as I did it, I hated myself as I knew she couldn't do that, but I needed to prove it to myself. Suffice to say that what I found blew my world apart. She had been having an affair for 2 years with a colleague. They also had just recently split up because she cheated on him with someone else she had met. I also found out that she exchanged text conversations with a local in the Caribbean, few months after we returned back home, and even sent him some money. But she stopped responding to his messages years ago. After I saw the evidence that she was having an affair with her work colleague and a new guy, and she was in communication with a man in the Caribbean for months after she returned. It was then that I realized all the red flags over the years. Spending time away from home, less communicative, or being more secretive about her activities, her sudden attention to her appearance. I was going crazy, and I didn't want my children to be around when I confront her. I got her parents to pick up the kids, and I tore up our wedding album and scattered it across our kitchen and waited for her to come home. When she got home, I confronted her about her work colleague, and she broke down crying. She admitted that it started by accident, as a one-time thing, and escalated and went out of control, and that she didn't intend for it to go on this long. She swears that it was the only affair that she had, and she ultimately blamed it on me, trying to turn the tables by saying that I may be having an affair that she didn't know about. I responded that I am not the one on the hot seat here. She is. The look on her face changed when I mentioned the trip to the Caribbean. I told her that I know all about it, even though I only saw the text. I claimed that I called the man, and he confirmed everything. That was when she finally came clean on her Caribbean affair. It turns out that her friend wasn't the only one that was blowing the local and having make out of the beach. She was as well. She had been with me all her life, so it seems that the vacation to the Caribbean opened her eyes to the experience she had never had. She asked me if I had thought about being with other people, which made me panic. I couldn't believe that the woman I thought I'd spend my life with was treating me like this. I admit, at one point, I blamed myself for letting her go out with her single friend. But in the end, it was her choice to cheat. We made a promise to each other, and she broke it. It's dangerous for me to think it was my fault. The woman I knew isn't the same anymore. She admitted to having one-night stands with a local from the Caribbean, her work colleague, and another new guy that I know of. That night, I couldn't understand how she went from being a trusted wife to someone who sleeps around. Maybe it had always been her all along, and I failed to realize it because I only wanted to see what I want to see. I only saw the good in her. I couldn't stay home that night. She was crying and apologizing, but I knew that she was apologizing because she got caught. I wasn't thinking right. I wanted closure, and I wanted her to tell me about other affairs that I don't know about. But she only admits to the ones I already know. I left home and didn't return home for 2 weeks. I feel a lot of shame for my behavior, as I should have been there for the kids. But I heavily turned to alcohol. When I went back, I found out she was still texting the new guy she had met. Believe me when I say, I was at the lowest point of my life. I felt powerless, like she was begging me to be with her. But yet she was still in communication with the new guy. I kicked her out of the house, and she left for a week and stayed with a friend and came home and had blocked the guy she was talking to. I told her then I needed full disclosure, and she said she had been in such a haze for a long time. That she knew there were other drunken flings, but couldn't say who when infuriating. She went to the doctor and was diagnosed with depression and medicated for it. She has been more like her old self since then, and I accepted her back to the home just for the sake of having some consistency for the kids. But I know that I would never trust her. And I can't sleep next to a person that have been lying to me for the past 3 years. So I have now moved out of the family home into my own place until about 2 months later. She's back to her strange behaviors, but now she's kind of messy with her secrets. I confront her and she opens and says that she saw no point hiding these things from me anymore. I feel heartbroken, but I can't let such things keep happening in my household. I told her parents again. They are very disappointed in her and understand why I decided to end our relationship. She says she cheated because she had only been with me and felt that after giving me children and being faithful until our second child, she deserves forgiveness for trying something new. I told her I would give her the freedom she wants. I filed for divorce, and we now share custody of our kids. Sometimes, when I go to pick up the kids, she makes flirtatious comments and says she misses me. But I'm not going to let her mess with me. She's been in several failed, abusive relationships and has asked her parents to plead with me, saying she made a mistake. I told them that even though I'm single right now, I'm already in another relationship. We still have the same children, so I see her often. I'm currently single and happy with my life and work. Second story. Hi everyone. A close friend of mine has been dating an unattractive, overweight girl for over 4 years. During this time, he has been regularly seeing prostitutes. He has low self-esteem and has always had trouble attracting women. So I think he got together with his current girlfriend because he feels he can't do better. He desperately needs affection, and despite not being attracted to her, he acts like a perfect boyfriend. I'm the only one who knows about his side activities. Every time I bring it up, he withdraws and says he loves his girlfriend. The last time we talked, he admitted that his girlfriend is overweight and that he's not attracted to her. He then had a long talk with her about losing weight. She's over 200 pounds. But the following week, he saw a prostitute again. I've told him repeatedly that he's only with her for the emotional connection because there's no physical attraction, and that he should break up with her since the relationship is already damaged. But he continues to keep up the facade. The other women are only about physical attraction for him. Has anyone faced something similar and have any advice? I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.